Today I want to share with you an incredible tiny house. Hey everybody, Chad Cruiser here with Health and Homestead. Right now many people are struggling financially as we're seeing inflation, and I fear that this won't end anytime soon. This makes many people wonder if they're thinking of moving to the country or just getting a house in general. Some people are thinking of going tiny. So we're going to take a look at it, and I would love to get your input, what you think, and could you live in something like this? So let's go in and give it a look. This is an absolutely beautiful place. One of the things I love about this tiny house is the woodwork everywhere, from the ceiling to the kitchen itself, all around this place, whether it's the stairwell. You have beautiful wood that you can actually see the wood grain. And if you've watched our YouTube channel, you've seen the research that I've talked about. They've actually tested head-to-head looking at a white wall versus looking at wood, and having that wood to look at simply lowers the stress level. So that's one of the nice things here. And this tiny house specifically has much taller ceilings. This is a taller tiny house than most that you've probably seen before, which having this entryway with these high arches is just, it's fantastic, really. It's beautiful. And so that's another nice addition to this house. Now let's go check out the kitchen. Here we have a beautiful kitchen, a nice space to be in. One of the things that's nice is you get to look out the window, and right outside the window you have a creek to look on. So that's just fantastic. So as you're doing your dishes and what have you, putting things away, you're just able to look out. And so you got the additional benefit, as you've seen, we've talked about research on being out in nature, spending time in nature, lowers levels of stress, helps us to focus our minds better. So you've got that right out here also. And right here you have your simple sink, kind of a beautiful pitcher sink there. I like these. I just like the look of them anyway. And so not only that, you have kind of everything you need in a very small place. Now keep in mind, this specifically is more of an Airbnb than somebody's full-time house, but it easily could be worked out to make it a full-time house. Or if you were designing this one, you could have designed some things a little different. We'll get to that, to make it a little easier to live in full-time. So it's got a little refrigerator, and they've got a microwave here. You've got a hot plate over here with a toaster. Boy, if you had these things in something like an Instant Pot, you pretty much have everything you need, right? Let's take a look at the bathroom. Now, in this particular bathroom, they went with a composting toilet, and that can be a great option depending on what you're going for. You could have a standard toilet also, that would, a normal flushing toilet. And compost can be used as compost. It's something that, if you're interested in, there's a book called the Humanure Handbook. If you want to know all about the actual research on humanure, I'll put a link down in the description for that book. So they've used the composting toilet here. Now, this is the one thing that if I were living in something like this one full time, and I think I could, this is a nice place. The one change that I would have wanted to make was made the bathroom a little bit bigger. Personally, I wouldn't want to live without a bathtub. If I was going to live full time in something, I would want to have a nice full-size bathtub, because if you're sick or something, you just love to sit down in there and do some hydrotherapy. So that's something that I would want to add. In a situation like this, you could have an outdoor shower. Now, it'd be cold in the winter here. Just last night, I think it got to about somewhere 12 to 14 degrees Fahrenheit, so it was straight up cold. So you'd have to have a system that you're not going to have your pipes freeze if you were going to do that. In this situation, since this is just an Airbnb, they have a place where people can shower. So that's not a problem here. But that's the one addition that I would want to make for sure, is have a place for showering or a bathtub. It's really quite a spacious living area, and like I said, because of the high ceilings, you really feel like it's spacious, even though it's not a massive place here. But once again, you have the fireplace here, which is a faux fireplace, so it's not a real one here, but you literally could have a fireplace right here. I would put in a wood stove personally. You can either get some of the mini ones, or they actually make just very small wood stoves that you could use, or you could have one of the propane installed. They're these tiny little gas stoves that could be used to heat your house. That'd be a total option. Or you could do electric, or any form of heating that you would choose to do. And being in here, you've got nice places to sit. One of the things they have also is you're going to want storage space. So they have these, where you can store your things. You could have your boxes, you could have totes, and you could store clothes or various things or whatever you need. This is kind of a real necessity in tiny houses, is finding places to store things. And part of the thing of having a tiny house is that you're trying to kind of let go of stuff, because people are finding that stuff doesn't really make you happy. Humans weren't made to just accumulate junk and then fill up storage units and whatnot. And so the tiny house has kind of bucked that trend that is taking place in society of just accumulation. Now I've got to say, this is a super comfortable place. Once again, I'm looking out on the creek, and I can just imagine, having easily 2 or, well, it'd be a little tight with 3 people here, but you could easily pull out the kitchen table chairs and you could put those out. You could easily have 5 people in this living area without feeling uncomfortable at all. So this is just, it's quite a large space considering it is a tiny house. I'm guessing just by looking at the measurements of it, it's probably about 20 feet by, we're talking maybe 10 feet. So it's probably about 20 by 10 is my guess. The owner did not remember what the actual measurements were, but that's my guess. And ceiling-wise, I'm guessing the ceiling is about 14 feet, maybe 15 feet. It's pretty high for a tiny house. So it's a good size when it comes to tiny houses. Let's go check out the loft up above where you would be sleeping. What a cozy place to be. Right, once again, out the windows, you got actually all around. On 3 sides, you have windows. So you have 7 windows, 3 in front of you, 2 on each side. And so you have views of the beautiful forest. You can see the sky up above, the creek down below, and you've got your bed. And the one thing that I would consider doing if I were to build this thing, I would have extended the loft further, and I would have made a place to have a desk or 2, both for myself and my wife. I'd want a desk for each of us, and not much more space. Several more feet, maybe 4 more feet out, would have given room for a desk, 2 desks actually, so that I could be doing my work that I do, my video work, and then my study, looking into research on science and so forth. That would be a nice addition that I would personally like. We've all got our things that we consider to be necessities, and so having a desk for myself and for my wife, that's a necessity because we work from home. But what a great place to sleep. I mean, I can just imagine sitting up here reading before going to bed. And once again, if you got the windows open, you're going to hear the sound of the creek. And in a tiny house, you really want fresh air so that you're not continually rebreathing your own air. And if you're using a heat source like fire, you're not going to have any trouble opening the windows, meaning it's going to get hot very easily. So the house will be heated with very little input. And so keeping a window open is going to help you get that fresh air. As we already stated, in a tiny house, you need space for your things. And so one of the spots they have here is you have a pull-out drawer for some clothes. This looks like it was somebody actually made this bed, it looks like to me. This does not look like something that was bought at IKEA or something like that. But you could get an IKEA type bed, and it could even be taller in here and have more space under it. I think I would actually do that. Even though it looks nice just like this, having it a little bit taller would make it so that you could really have additional space under this bed. Now, one of the things that's a little bit probably unusual for a tiny house, probably most of the tiny houses you've seen, you cannot stand up in. This one is I am probably around 5'10", so I'm not a real tall guy. I think this is a 6-foot ceiling is my guess. And so this one, at least someone as short as me is able to stand up. You could get up, you could put your clothes on. Obviously, it's going to be a little awkward. You're going to bend over to put your shirt on and so forth. But to have that ability to stand up, I think if I were going to build one, I would want to be able to stand up on the top floor. So, but it's up to you. If you can handle the ones where they're quite short and you're just kind of ducked down all the time and you change your clothes downstairs or you learn to do it on your bed, that's totally an option. But I think this is a nice addition to this tiny house. So what do you think? What do you think about this particular tiny house? And secondarily, could you live in a tiny house if you felt like you had to, or you wanted to save some money, or maybe you wanted to do it temporarily? What I have seen is that most people don't live for the rest of their life in tiny homes. They may do it because it might help them to avoid a mortgage, or if they do have to get a mortgage, it's way less getting a tiny house, and then it can help them save up for a larger house. Typically, these are kind of a stopover. These are not, for the rest of your life. But hey, I think a lot of people could. I mean, you look back in history, many people have had to live in very small places for much of Earth's history. It's just a little bit unusual today. But I would love to hear your comments down below. Share your thoughts. Are there any additions, any changes that you would like to make in a tiny house that you could live in? Share it down below. I'll have some links down below also. Thank you for watching. God bless and have a fantastic day.